Here's a true story about the local elder of the congregation that my wife goes to. And this guy, I believe, has no business being an elder or of any leadership position, other than maybe a businessman. And then he could be a shrewd businessman, and I think he is. He kind of rules by an iron fist. Right off the bat, I just want to kind of say that not all elders are like that. I've met a handful of elders that I think in their hearts they just want to do the right thing and, and lead by example and be courteous and understanding and all, the good qualities of a true leader, either learned or by nature. Our best leaders are basically, it's in their genes. But this particular elder that I'm talking about, in the congregation that my wife goes to, he's a different animal, and you could tell. And he's a very strict, hardliner, card-carrying Jehovah Witness, and it's his way or the highway type of leadership. And it's elders like that that sort of make my job trying to wake my wife up or point to the realities of what she's going through very easy for me to do, where I don't have to do anything. I just let this guy sort of be himself, kind of like the governing body and, the typical Jehovah Witness lifestyle. Just let that do its thing, and it advertises itself pretty much. I don't have to do much but point out the inconsistencies. This particular elder is no different. And this elder's reaction, and most importantly, what my wife has approached to him as far as, some guidance, demonstrated to me that I need to change up my strategy just a little bit to sort of help my kids not fall into this Jehovah Witness trap. In our household, there is no family worship or family study or anything of that sort. We don't take an hour or so or nothing like that to study Watchtower material. That doesn't exist in our household whatsoever. And my kids, I don't think, has the patience really to sit through all that. So I let that take its natural course. But in the meantime, since I'm not a believer of their dogma, you know that I'm not going to spew that stuff out to them. My wife was relaying a story about the elder. We were talking, and we have, conversations, normal conversations about things, life and people, It's not, me against you or the wife against me and that type of deal. The subject of this particular elder came up that one of his kids, this person just made, real bad spouse decisions. I think this person has gone through 2 spouses or 3 maybe. I don't remember, but she has kids from, I think, 2 different people. And half of them are adults and the other ones are preteens. So that's the kind of the spread that she has. But this person has kind of lifted herself up by the bootstraps and made something of herself. She wasn't going to play, the victim in this case, and actually got a degree in a very good profession and is now working in that profession, sort of maintaining herself. She's self-sufficient. But when she was going to college and she graduated, the elder, the father of this particular person, never went to her graduation. He, I think, is a hardliner against education of that magnitude, going to college, let's say, and having a profession other than trades, manual labor and things that could be used in, building a city or whatever after Armageddon. And we're not going to use her chosen profession in that particular sense. So he didn't go to her graduation. I think it's the only child. I think he has like 3 or 4 children, all grown adults, and this is the only one that graduated college. So right off the bat, you could tell the type of person this guy is. So my wife goes to him for some guidance, some spiritual guidance concerning our children. What she wanted was to have someone to come over to the house, or she goes to the other person's house and conduct a study with my children. Not my wife studying with them, or maybe so, but having another person come over and help her indoctrinate the kids in that particular manner. Any new study with, new inductees and or whatever, that process, to start that process going. I don't know how it came about. This is my wife telling me the story, and ultimately she was explaining that, it's kind of difficult for her to study with the kids, and they really don't listen too well and are impatient. She wants like a sit-down formal setting, maybe, something to that effect, and that she needed, some people to help her out with that, because obviously I wasn't going to help out with that at all. But the answer was basically maybe he said a few things, but then ultimately said, and I quote, this is in quotation now, "That's your problem." That was the response for her plea for help to indoctrinate the kids in the Jehovah Witness religion. So the one passage in the Bible that says, putting the millstone on your neck for anyone who stumbles, children from learning the gospel or Jesus's, way. This guy, I don't think he reminded himself of that, because he was in violation of that particular verse. I just looked up the verse, Matthew 18, verse 6. "If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck," and so on. Big violation from this supposedly elder leader of his congregation, and I think he's the head guy too, or the most aggressive out of all of them. And he fails in that point right there. He denies my wife request to have somebody from the congregation to come over and help her out to indoctrinate my kids. And what are the one thing that they do or offer the most for people on the street that's not indoctrinated is, here, call this number or go on jborg.com and ask for a free Bible study. Now, this is for people that are not in the religion. My wife has been in the religion all her life. She asked for this one little thing, and she doesn't get it. A person in the religion asking for, Bible studies, and she doesn't get it. And this guy and his family, I'm sure, doesn't like my wife because of my in-laws that defame my wife's character within the congregation. And this particular elder and his family is like one of those, big, huge JW family where they're all JWs, and, 3/4 of the congregation is that family. So my father-in-law has gotten chummy with him and worked for him for a little bit in his business. They all have the JW economy going within themselves. And I'm sure they had quite a few choice words in regard to my wife, and that obviously, in my opinion, skewed this elder's opinion towards my wife. And there were other issues too that involved my father-in-law, where he was going to get picked to become a ministerial servant, and my wife actually wrote a letter saying, that's not a good idea. And this is to the body of elders in our congregation. She actually wrote a letter, sent it to them, and I think the society too, I'm not too sure, but saying that he did this, that, and the other, as far as, sins in the past or whatever, and she could come up with 2 witnesses. I think the other witness might not have, been willing to say anything. At the time, yeah, he was pretty angry with him. Our whole family is pretty angry with my in-laws, but that's another story. But at that time, she would have had two witnesses to sort of do that. But what became of that is under the table, brushing off of these charges, and nothing came about it. And ultimately, my father-in-law did become ministerial servant, I believe. I don't keep up with who's who, but and that's sort of like an indication of the boys' club, mentality of a congregation. Not sure if they're all like that, the inner politics within the congregation, but in this local one that's close to my family, it certainly is. So my wife and I are having a casual conversation about this incident and everything, and I'm like, well, he's not a true leader. True leaders would have, taken care of you, especially from a request that is really no big deal. I mean, you can't assign a local, sister or brother to come over to the house and have coffee and talk with the kids. I mean, that is nothing. I mean, it's better than standing outside in the cold rain with a cart or, going up and down the street. And I think that counts as, hours that they collect. They want to rack up the hours for their whatever accounting that they do. So at the time of the storytelling that my wife was relaying to me, I got up on my soapbox and started to talk about, that's not really true leadership. I mean, you're supposed to take care of your people if you're a leader. And I was sort of making comparisons to her in the military and, the corporate world, which I was, a part of in my life myself too, where, they give you classes and training on how to be an effective leader and to take care of problems like this and not to let it escalate and span of control and other, leadership sort of, terminology and methods. And what he did, this elder, it was the complete opposite of all the manuals that I've read about leadership in the military or outside in the civilian world at that. For curiosity, I was wondering what the Elder's Manual, Shepherd the Flock of God book, says about it. I wanted to see if there's anything on leadership there that he's in violation of. In the military, something that he did like that, deny my wife, some help with the kids and indoctrinating them. It's a charge would be dereliction of duty. In the service, it's your duty to, uphold the rules and regulations and things like that, or to help, to help the situation that's being presented to you. So right off the bat, just page 1, the cover page, where the title of the booklet here is Shepherd the Flock of God book, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 2. Right there, he was in violation of that particular verse right off the bat. And it says, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve. This guy was not eager to serve whatsoever, not in this particular scenario. Once again, in the Elder's Manual, I just turned just a few pages to page number 7, and in chapter 1, paragraph 5, towards the end of it, it says, elders strive to be alert to the needs of individual publishers and families, stepping forward to assist in practical ways when there is a need. Obviously, there was a minor need in this case that he was presented with when my wife wanted to have some help with the kids, and he just shunned her away and saying, that's your problem, you handle it. So right there, a violation of that particular step there in the Shepherding of the Flock of God book in chapter 1. Mind you, there was only one small chapter, the first chapter, that sort of give any meaningful leadership qualities and, suggestions and things like that. 3/4 of this booklet is disciplinary actions. I mean, they're just assuming the worst from the congregants in the get-go by punishing them and sort of, bringing down a hammer on them. But I thought this particular one here, this one passage was somewhat ironic. Page 50, paragraph 8 in chapter 4, it says, "Take sufficient time to listen, get all the facts. It is essential to get the whole picture if you are to manifest true understanding, insight, and discernment in handling any questions or problems." So that was that little paragraph there, but in the previous page to that, in chapter 4, page number 49, under paragraph 6, in big bold letters, it says, "Do not stay too long. If an agreed upon time is established, stick to it. If necessary, set up another visit to continue the discussion." So in one paragraph, they're telling you to stay there to get the full understanding of what is being presented to you as far as a problem or an issue with a congregant. One of your flocks in the congregation is telling you to take sufficient time needed to fully understand what the situation is. But then in the previous page is telling you, but do not stay too long. So in an example like that, where you need to, apply your personal discernment about the situation. Let's say the person is talking about suicide in layman terms, like, I really don't feel good. I'm kind of depressed. I've been having thoughts about, hurting myself, and I just feel that it's hopeless. And I think that the easy way out is just to end it all, because, I'm not going to go to hell, because in our faith, there's no such thing as hell. So, I'll just go to sleep, and that's what I want to do. I'll just want to go to sleep. And the person, I'm out of character now, this person could go just on and on and on in his justification for taking his own life. And then this elders is going to stop in the middle of that, or 3/4 the way through, and say, well, I would have to get back to you later on that, because I have other things to do, and take off. That's what it kind of tells me, that what's going on in this situation. So take all the time in the world, but don't stay too long. The whole thing is contradictory, just like the vast majority of Jehovah Witness doctrine. And this is no different. Perhaps they updated this book or whatever. It's the same one that was on the Australian Royal Commission evidence file. That's just telling. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't want to pigeonhole every elder as a representation of what this particular elder did. I must admit, I have to give credit where credit is due. I have met quite a few elders, or Jehovah Witness men in general, that take on sort of that leadership, role, that are just trying to do the right thing and live a righteous life and things of that nature, do good with their families and others, a genuine concern, even towards me. They want to get me into the fold. They want to save my life, and I understand that and appreciate it for what it is, but I know better of what the, underlying undertones of that will mean. So, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid at all, but not all elders are made of that particular mold of the hardliner. But from all the stories that I'm hearing on the internet and everything, and some examples that I've seen firsthand, they're out there, and they're the ones that make things pretty difficult. But they are making it easier for me in my efforts into not have my children be indoctrinated into this particular religion. With that little experience, that kind of tells me to sort of change my strategy as well, where I take it as behind my back or without being consulted, my wife has asked, for help to indoctrinate the kids outside of our household here, through the elders. So, and of course, I cannot deny it. I can't say no, that is not allowed. I won't stand for that, because then that would trigger the persecution complex within my wife, and that would put me in a Jehovah Witness view of a worldly spouse or a worldly person to begin with. Just persecuting my wife, forcing her not to have my kids indoctrinated. In their eyes, is denying the word of God to my kids. In my eyes, it is totally something different. Is subjugating them into an oppressive cult. I could use this particular scenario to my advantage. If my wife does ask for a study, which I predict will happen when I move the family to our new location, a few cities away, it's going to happen again. She's going to try again. In that case, I should be studied up enough to where I could join my kids in this study and be there as a built-in Berean to sort of, ask questions and study with my kids. Basically, yeah, my kids will be there and everything, but I would be there too, asking the hard questions that my kids will never come up with on their own unless they're, older and more understanding of, the way things are. I'm there on the onset to sort of demonstrate that, these elders that come over or the publishers that come over to conduct a study with my kids, they will see right off the bat that it's nothing to be feared. We can ask them the hard questions, and we're going to start off by asking the hard questions. And that's part of my strategy. Studying up the Bible, studying their strategy, and use that against them. Or I really don't have to use it against them. It just speaks for itself. That's about it.